And well, we go over, and I think at last we find that the wild card races have left us far in the dust. Welcome to what is one of the first normal races we've had all season long. We go and downscale a little bit from the 2.6 mile super speedway in Alabama over to a beautiful little 1.5 mile speedway over here in Kansas. Nola Red Bull and Al Kozlowski are coming with you here for the ISCA Stock Car Association and the Farmers Insurance 200 at Kansas Speedway. Qualifying just getting underway. We'll find ourselves with you guys in just a moment.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
At Farmers, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two, like how nice it is to switch and save on your auto policy. But it's even nicer knowing that if this happens, or this happens, or this, or even this, we've seen and covered it. So call 1-800-FARMERS to switch your auto policy and you could save an average of $470. Get a quote today.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
And welcome back to the qualifying here at Kansas Speedway for tonight's 134-mile race around this 1.5 mile oval. 6 cars so far have set times today, make that 7. Griffin Hoffman sits on the pole with a 29.539, up ahead by over a tenth of a second here, Al.
Yeah, it's a very hot track today, Nolan. To run a 29.5, that's moving it pretty good, and that car gets pretty loose in the rear end there, so that's pretty good job there for Clayton Hoffman in that number 92 car. And that's probably going to be the pole. I don't see anybody else getting that any better than that. So that's probably where we're going to sit right now with Clayton Hoffman and Chris Johnson. We yet to see a qualifying lap come out of Greg Wychinski, and he's been pretty solid here. Him and Brian Johnson have also both laid down some pretty good practice laps. So let's see if they qualify.
We'll have to wait and see. Of course, the smallest mistake in qualifying here does spell the end of your qualifying session pretty early here. If you so much as scrape that outside wall, and if you get a 0x, that is still enough to invalidate an entire lap. And it looks like that might have been what happened actually with Craig Johnson, who set 2 different laps, but was actually fast on the first lap with a 30.7, though the second lap was a 30.9. So a dismal run there for Craig, considering that's about the time that Clayton Hoffman ran when he was getting a run-up lap for his second flyer.
Well, the 4 machine laid a 29.9 his first lap. That's what he gets the second lap.
Coming off of turn number 4, currently sitting 8th place, 29.933. Some ways off of the pole position, about 0.4 of a second. He is going to jump up to the second position there, so 29.6. For Brian Johnson, sees him now on the front row by about 0.07 of a second. 0.04 of a second back is Chris Johnson.
Yeah, the Johnson brothers here, Brian and Chris, they run pretty good at this track. In practice, they had some good draft going on. So to see them nose to tail like that to Greg Wychinski, he just popped up a third fast at 29.626.
So 9 drivers of the 11 so far due to start the day, those being Jeff Shutt and Cecil Keith. The last 2 drivers we have yet to see on the grid for qualifying. Neither driver has even tried to come out and set a time yet, and with no time left, this is how things will lock out for that starting grid. So qualifying is complete here, Al. Let's take things on over here to the National Anthem. We'll be right back with you.
Drivers, start your engines!
And we are back here at Kansas Speedway. The grid has been finalized, and we're just waiting now for the final couple of drivers to grid on up here, Al, before we kick things off here for 134 laps. Let's take a run here through the starting grid. Clayton Hoffman is on the pole with 29.539, 700th of a second ahead of Brian Johnson beside him on the front row. Grabowczynski sits in the third position with Chris Johnson in fourth. Gil Gach rounds out the top five. John Mullins in sixth. Wayne Grossi 7th, Kenny Powell 8th, Craig Johnson in 9th, Jeff Shutt in 10th, with Cecil Keith bringing up the rear in the 11th position.
Yeah, we'd like to welcome back Cecil Keith. It's been a good minute since we've seen him or John Mullins. And tonight, Nolan, I've picked John Mullins to win this race. So let's hope that 64 machine can pull it off for me.
All the drivers have gridded on up here, so we are expecting that pace car there to start rolling off anytime soon. I still am not a fan of how that pace car looks here, Al. I will always love my precious Mustang.
Yeah, it's an odd one. It is an odd one. I got to turn on my butt kicker, Nolan. I can't run the race without that thing. That's such an amazing device. If you don't have one of those, you may want to check out ButtKicker.com and purchase one right away. It'll make your driving experience so much more immersive.
Now the pace car launches, and I just listened into that pace car, Al. I'm not sure. We were both talking about how it might be a mix of a Kia and a Volkswagen looking thing. I don't know. I listened into that, and I heard the sound of a Porsche Cayman 718 GT4 Club Sport. That or Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. But one of those Porsches is what I heard from that pace car there. I'm starting to think that's supposed to be a Porsche ripoff.
If it's a Porsche, I don't think it's anything anybody's going to buy, because that thing is awful ugly.
Oh, amen to that.
Well, they did put some pretty fancy chrome wheels on it. I noticed that a couple different times in Talladega when I got the pole and followed that thing down the front stretch. It's got some pretty shiny wheels on it.
Well, the shiny wheels will hopefully not find themselves onto the track more than this single lap here today. It'll be in the hands here of Clayton Hoffman's 92 car. To lead it down to the green flag as the pace car pulls it on off, and Hoffman going to throw himself here into the triumphal for the first time today. We are green. 134 laps, and Farmers Insurance 200 is underway from Kansas.
So the method of the madness here, Nolan, is you want to try to run the middle to the high side to preserve these tires. If you run that low line, you're going to eat your tires up a lot more than anybody on the upper lines. So if you're on the high line, you want to try. Whoa, we already got one into the wall.
Whoa.
Gate machine.
That's Chris Johnson in the 48 car that had a bit of a scrape there with the outside wall. Just got a bit loose off of turn 2, or might have gotten a bit too tight.
Well, that Craig Wachinski, he's moving it on up there. He is now looking on the inside, and if he stays there, Clayton Hoffman has got the method to his madness. He wants to keep him on that inside line. He may get the lead, but using up those tires to get it is not going to keep him the lead.
Here's the big part as well. Look at the outside line, and look at the run that Hoffman has around the outside line. Already clears Wachinski in time for turn number 3. That's the big crucial thing here about Kansas. It is so hard to pass here. Oh, Wachinski loose on the bottom side. He manages to save it, but that's going to cause him to lose out second place to John Mullins. He might lose out another spot here to Brian Johnson if that 4 car can get a good run on him here into turn 1. But going back to what I was saying there, Al, I mean, it's a very outside line heavy track. You cannot pass on the bottom lane here. And I commentated about a 200 lap event here from the Classic IndyCar series just last week, actually, last Sunday. Even IndyCars, and you know how much grip IndyCars have, even they were struggling to pass on the inside line here with all the downforce and all the cornering capabilities they have. Outside lane, that's the way to go if you want to hold on to a spot.
Well, this track definitely also has a lot of dirty air capability. I noticed that when I practiced with these guys earlier. The dirty air is crazy, and this track temp is almost 120 degrees, which makes this track extremely slick. So I wouldn't be surprised to see other drivers like Chris did earlier on get a little squirrely and start hitting that wall, especially on the exits.
Hoffman and Mullins have broken clear. The battle's on for third behind, with Brian Johnson just getting squeezed up to the outside wall by Grabowczynski in the sprint down towards turn number 1 this last time by. That 2 car looking strong, trying to find some speed there. John Mullins, meanwhile, doing a great job as well. Up already 4 positions before he started the race. He is so far your biggest mover on the night.
Yeah, I think he's running preservation mode as we swap back here, and looks like Brian Johnson's going to try the inside and see if that gets him any more luck on Greg Wyszynski. And I think Greg might give it to him. I'm not too positive.
Not quite. Wyszynski still has the run at the outside line there. Brian Johnson will clear down the front straightaway through the tri-oval. And now they start to single file on now. But behind, Wayne Grossi and Chris Johnson are still looking like they might want to go side by side. Grossi's going to slide up right in front of the 48, but here comes Johnson with the run around the outside line on the number 7.
Yeah, you want to watch that number 7. He has some pretty good speed in practice. So he's probably playing the catbird seat right now, trying to see what these guys are going to do, if they're going to use up their tires or not. But I expect to see that number 7, Wayne Grossi, up here probably at least in second or third tonight.
At the moment, this is the only side-by-side battle, or the real battle for position we got on the track here at the moment. Grossi slides back up in front of the 48 car, but this time manages to get clear. Johnson looking for the inside, but decides not to go for that dive bomb. But it would have been a bit opportunistic there to go for a move like that, just 7 laps into the race.
Well, I'm watching second place John Mullins. Of course, that's my pick to win the race tonight. He is on tire preservation. He doesn't get down to the low line too much. He stays towards the middle to the first groove right there. And he doesn't really ride that wall too much. He knows there's a lot of crosswinds coming off that wall that could make that car get a little unstable. And I think he's patiently just watching for Clayton Hoffman to make a mistake, and he'll capitalize on it.
These guys really flirting with that outside wall, and that's such an easy wall to hit as well, particularly though off of turn number 2. That is going to be a very treacherous corner as often too, especially when we come around here later on to the runs and the tires start to wear down and the track temperatures start to come more into play as well. It's a very treacherous track out there at the moment as is, and Greg Wyszynski, though, showing no fear despite this. He's looking up the inside of Brian Johnson through 3 and 4, but no dice for the number 2 car. That 4 car doing exactly what you need to do if you got somebody on your inside. Go up to the wall and get the momentum you have around the outside line. You will lose time on entry, but you will make it all back and more down the back straightaway.
Yeah, he has this figured out, Brian does. But he's flirting with disaster with that wall. He's going to catch that wall one time here.
Kenny Powell and Jeff Shutt look like they might be wanting to tango here as Chris Johnson is holding up this train of 4 here at the moment. That's 7th on back to the 10th position on the track, with Craig Johnson falling back in the background. But right now, Powell all over the back of Johnson trying to get a run on the 48 car, who pinches him up towards the wall entering turn number 1. Now Powell's going to try the outside line, and we could see our first pass on the outside here, and in fact we will. Kenny Powell up to 7th, gets a textbook pass done around the outside line there. Looks like Craig Johnson way down the track there, just behind him though.
Yeah, Kenny Powell in that 24 machine, I've watched several of his races this week, and he's got some pretty good speed underneath that 24. He just needs to try to get the right air. Like I mentioned earlier, this dirty air is crucial here, and you got to try to stay away from it. So he'll catch Wayne Grossi in that 7 machine here in about 5 laps, and he's going to have to try to run a different line than him, because if he doesn't, he'll stay in that dirty air and it would just mess him up.
Brian Johnson up in front is also trying to poke around John Mullins. Now he's going to try the outside line, and the number 4 car is going to get the massive run of overspeed off of turn number 4, and he will try to take the second position away, and will do so down to the turn number 1 on lap number 13 here. Nothing John Mullins can do about that one. He's just got to watch as Brian Johnson pulls around him and starts to run away with that second position, but Johnson been tail happy there off of turn number 2. Johnson's going to try.
Jeff Shutt, he's trying to peek around the backside of Kenny Powell here in that 24 machine. He's looking like he's going to try the inside line here to see if he can make a pass around him. You notice a lot of these guys, knowing that they ride that front bottom apron down the front stretch there, and I think they do that a lot of times, and they get a little bit more speed. During long runs, you can get a little unstable by doing that, though. Your rear end might get out from underneath you.
Up front, Gil Gawk and Wayne Grossi side by side for the final spot inside the top 5 at the moment. And you are right, you can get a little bit more unstable, but it's not so much on the apron itself, it's more the transitioning that you got to watch out for. Now, of course, you are allowed to go down there, and it is actually quicker to run down there, believe it or not. Of course, it does use up a little bit more tires, but the effects are marginal. But the reason why you don't see the car up above coming in there, it is very sketchy to have 2 cars side by side on that piece of apron at the same time, which is why you seldom see 2 people going side by side. Usually, it's the person on the bottom that gets the say as to who gets down there, if anybody.
Now, these drivers, they're courteous when there's a running side by side and the inside line goes to that apron. And like Kenny Powell, you watch him, he's kind of going down. If he was to hug that white line, it would force the driver that's below that apron to check up or continue to ride that apron all the way around, which is next to impossible.
Now, here's the big critical part as well. A lot of leagues, and my own included, what they'll do is they'll mark the racing service as anything above that white line. So the rule typically is you are absolutely 100% allowed to go onto the apron. However, like the dogleg at Phoenix, they do not have to let you back up.
Yeah, that's what I was pointing to there. That's several races this week I've watched drivers that will pinch somebody down there and leave them down there, so they have no choice but to check up. And if you check up here, it will cost you 2 to 3 seconds getting back up to speed.
Trouble for Cecil Keith. He's finding himself going really slow. It looks like he had a massive sideways moment up in turn number 2. We might want to take a look back at that one there, as now he's battling for the last position on the track there with Craig Johnson. He's dropped back in a hurry, so Cecil Keith has really done something to that car that has made it not so happy anymore.
It's probably tape. If I was to guess, he's probably got too much tape on that thing, and he's trying to keep it cool. And Kenny Powell pinches the wall 3 times coming off of turn 2.
And somehow still holds on to the position against Jeff Shutt. So good run there for Kenny Powell to make sure that he manages to maintain that position, all things considered. But now he's going to lose it out as Shutt went to the inside of 3 and 4 and took away the 7th position.
Well, Clayton Hoffman got a lucky break with Brian Johnson and John Mullins racing side by side. When they're racing side by side like this, that's something that the leader wants to see in his rearview mirror, because that's going to slow them down. And he's got a 2.5, a 3-second gap between him and those 2 back there. And that's a pretty large deficit to make up.
John Mullins and Brian Johnson still looking nice and tight together. They're trying to do their dang best here to work themselves out and work out who is going to be the one among them to kind of come out on top of that battle for second position. All of this is allowing Clayton Hoffman to continue to extend his gap. 3.2 seconds now on the field last time by at the line, and we are now 21 laps into this race. So the battle's gone on the track at the moment. You got Brian Johnson and John Mullins for the 2nd and 3rd positions. In the back, you kind of got Jeff Shutt and Kenny Powell, but Powell has kind of faded back a little bit. Chris Johnson and Craig Johnson has also settled out a little bit in its own positioning here. Everybody else, like guys like Wayne Grossi, Greg Wyszynski, they're kind of running in no man's land at the moment. They're just kind of sitting amongst of a group. They can see cars in front and behind them, but they're not really being pressured or pressuring anybody else for position at the moment.
Yeah, this is basically what we're going to be seeing here, and we're now running a fairly open race. I mean, we've got 2 seconds, 3 seconds gaps. The closest race we have is with Mullins and Greg Wyszynski now. Everybody else is about a second apart. So, what we got right in front of Kenny Powell, that's going to be Jeff Shutt and Gil Gawk in the 25 and 85.
Oh.
But other than that, it's fairly open game here.
Brian Johnson had a big sideways moment off of turn 4, and that's going to cause him to lose out on the second podium position here. John Mullins swept through on the bottom of the front straightaway, and now the 4 cars having to go on the offensive here, but he is struggling as he has overheated those tires.
Yeah, one slip up of that rear end is about 3 laps of recovery. So you really don't want to do that. You want to try to stay in that middle line right now with where we got on these tires. we should probably see, what do we guess, maybe about 54 laps we're going to see these guys pitting, maybe 55.
Well, the estimated fuel range lap was going to be about 62 laps, we were told, before this race here. So 62 laps, we'll be pushing it, and that is dead halfway. So there's kind of the answer there. It could really kind of go either way here, Al, as to what these guys will decide to do.
Well, I'm telling you, Nolan, I've been watching the 24 Kenny Powell, and he is absolutely falling in love with this wall. He keeps on hitting it and hitting it and hitting it. I don't know if he's got an ill-handling car or what. But he just, once you hit it one time, you're all right. You hit it more than once, and you're in trouble. Well, now that we got 25 laps on these tires, Nolan, let's go ahead and take a quick commercial break, and we'll probably come back to the same thing we're watching right now.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at TheButtKicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
At Farmers, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two, like how nice it is to switch and save on your auto policy. But it's even nicer knowing that if this happens, or this happens, or this, or even this, we've seen and covered it. So call 1-800-FARMERS to switch your auto policy, and you could save an average of $470. Get a quote today.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Still green flag racing from Kansas Speedway here. Let's take a quick rundown here through the grid as we are now 28 laps into a 134 lap race. Clayton Hoffman leads by 5.9 seconds over John Mullins. Brian Johnson sits in the third position with Greg Wyszynski in fourth. Wayne Grossi fifth. Schutt sixth. Gog seventh. Howell eighth. The two Johnsons, 9th and 10th. And Cecil Keith in the 11th position here. The battle for second now starting to close on up.
Yeah, Brian had a little hiccup there, but I think he's recovering from it just fine. Just not forget Greg Wyszynski's back there just moseying right along, and Wayne Grossi, we spoke about him earlier in that 7 car, he's back there not too far away from them either. So even though Clayton Hoffman has checked out here, it doesn't mean that 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th will not be battling here shortly.
Riding on board here with Brian Johnson at the moment. And you can watch here as the gap kind of fluctuates between himself and John Mullins up in front. Of course, Brian Johnson was up in second position originally, but he did lose out on time to Mullins up in front, which did not bode too well for Johnson. Behind, they're fighting for 4th and 5th on the track. Grossi up the inside of Wyszynski here on the exit of turn 2. Tried to have a go at it. They were side by side, door to door, all the way through 1 and 2, but nobody was successful in finding their way through.
Told you that's going to be the only interesting battle we're going to see all night. It does look like Greg Wyszynski and Wayne Grossi, they're battling with each other there. That's going to slow them down and pull them further and further away from Brian Johnson and John Mullins up there in second and third.
And the more these guys are side by side, the more it's going to mean that other guys like Clayton Hoffman just start to pull away. In fact, Clayton Hoffman at the moment, 22.9 seconds last time clock ahead of Cecil Keith, the runner up in the back at the moment. And while Hoffman's about halfway down the backstretch now, Cecil Keith is just now he's in turn 4. So we're definitely going to be catching lap traffic here. And I would say about 15, 20 laps or so.
Yeah, it's going to be before we have to make a fuel stop here, I imagine. Surprisingly, we haven't had any caution yet. This is pretty amazing, but they are spread quite a bit out with a little bit of battling here and there.
And speaking of battles, it's back on for second on lap number 35. John Mullins trying to fend off Brian Johnson. They both got close there. And return number 1. And Brian Johnson trying to break clear here. Mullins has to lift off big time, though. John Mullins tried to get the run around the outside with the momentum that Brian Johnson is able to do so well, but got on the throttle too early, so he had to lift off out to avoid hitting the wall.
Yeah, it looks like the tires are wearing off on my pick to win the race here rather quick. John Mullins is having a hard time keeping that thing on the track right now.
At this point, I'd put him as your pick to second, honestly, Al, because Hoffman is now over 7 seconds out front of the field, but Hoffman has damage on the front of his car. Hang on, we got to check back here on Clayton Hoffman. Exit of turn 2, lap 36. He clipped the wall out, had a big sideways moment there, and I don't know how he managed to catch that car.
Well, where'd you say the damage was? On the right side?
Right front.
Yeah, that's
right on the
probably
wheel
not
well.
that's not gonna hinder him too bad. He just caught a little bit of that wall. As long as he doesn't get much more damage than that, if he can stay away from that wall, the wall forgives you once. It doesn't forgive you for the second time. It starts to do some real damage, so he should be fine.
I'm going to kind of switch topics here. I'm going to play meteorologist for a moment. Let's take a look at the weather facts so far over the course of the day. It's partly cloudy skies, a pretty decent 78 degrees Fahrenheit out there in the air, of course, with the high track temperatures here on April 29th at about 3 o'clock and at 8 minutes and 53 seconds in sim time. Looking at 115 degrees Fahrenheit down to the track. Winds blowing just off to the northwest at 5 miles an hour. Currently got a nice sun beating down to the track as well. Current humidity in the air, 29 degrees. Look at this. Hoffman's in.
Hoffman is pitting at lap 38, so he must have more damage than we know. That's a very early pit stop for him.
He could be taking a unique pit strategy here as well. It's worth noting, Al, because remember, you can make it to lap 62 if you really want, but that's going to be pushing it, and I still think that's just barely short, but you need to make it through to the end. He might be taking the splash dash stop here that you would need, later on in the race. He might be making that kind of a pit stop now.
No, he's getting tires, Nolan. He is getting tired.
Well, you're obviously going to get tires now. That kind of goes for an understatement, but this means he now has one set that he has got to stretch out for the next 95 laps. So this will work in Hoffman's favor here. If he comes in at about 50 laps from now, he's going to be more than good to make it to the end on tires. This could be a really good strategy here. Of course, this now means that Clayton Hoffman is sorely off cycle from everybody else in the field. So this has really kind of spiced up the whole demeanor of this race here so far. And now that effectively means that battle between Johnson and Mullins, that's your battle for the race lead.
Yeah, and Clayton Hoffman's pit stop, we'll mention, was about almost 30 seconds. So he picked some damage there, too, as well. And he is one lap down, so he's praying for a caution right now, because if somebody pits right now and they get 4 tires, their pit stops are roughly going to be around about 20 seconds. You take an extra 10 seconds for that damage to be fixed.
Now John Mullins coming down. This is going to be a popular choice here, Al, because look at this. Your second place runner, John Mullins, now down to pit road this next time by. So it looks like we might be getting in the wave of pit stops here. First round of green flag pit stops it is a very humid track out there, and a lot of the guys that are coming down, I've noticed they've been kind of getting a bit squirrely the past little while. With how hot that track is right now, if you get your tires overheated, it is going to be very difficult to cool them off again. And speaking of which, Jeff Shuck, Brewiczynski battle heating up here for third on the track. The 25 car up the inside of the 2 this last time by got the crossover on it from the back straightaway, but Wyszynski trying to fight the outside line.
Yeah, I know we're going to see a couple of these drivers that are going to take this another 20, 19 laps. They're going to go the full field run of this. They're not going to pit early. What that's going to do essentially is they may lose some time. Clayton Hoffman may get to them and may get around them. However, when they pit, they're going to be on roughly about 20 lap fresher tires than Clayton Hoffman. And those 20 laps may give them an extra 2/10 to 3/10.
I don't know about that one now, because it's important to note as well that these guys are still on the old tires. Hoffman is still on the fresh tires. So while they will be on fresh tires than him, right now Hoffman is running them down at a much greater pace than you're going to be seeing these guys running Hoffman back down when they pit as well. Jeff Shutt back through to third around Greg Wyszynski.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect to see Wayne Grossi or Brian Johnson in before lap 52. Jeff Shutt, I imagine, will be one of those gamblers. Kenny Powell has been known to gamble, so I wouldn't expect to see him till about lap 56, 57. And as I say that, Jeff Shutt motions that he's going to go in and pit.
Joe Gog is already in the line as well. And the 85 car, Kenny Powell, is also coming in this time by. So it's not an off-cycle pit strategy call, as it turns out here out. This is gonna be the pit call here for everybody else in the field. Wyszynski comes down with Shutt.
Well, Brian Johnson is sitting in the catbird seat. He took over Clayton Hoffman's position to be in 3 seconds in front of second place Wayne Grossi. Chris Johnson is about 7 seconds in third position behind Wayne Grossi. So basically, Brian Johnson, Wayne Grossi, and Chris Johnson are all sitting out here, and Brian could ride this thing out for at least another 10 laps if he wanted to, and probably be safe.
Jeff Shutt is out. Greg Wyszynski just behind, and we're closing in here on lap 50. And now Cecil Keith and Chris Johnson are both down to the lane. I see Brian Johnson making his stop this time by. And already Clayton Hoffman is now up to about the 7th position on track here, and John Mullins is slightly ahead now. Of course, John Mullins has come into pit 3 laps ago, but now Clayton Hoffman is actually behind John Mullins, so Hoffman must have had, oh yeah, hang on here, Hoffman definitely went in there, and he had to, that's right, Hoffman had to fix damage. He was in there for about 26 seconds compared to everybody else in there for about 15 seconds. Now everybody else is in the pit lane. The last few drivers there on the grid, Craig Johnson just come down as well, so this means we are going to be cycling everything through, and John Mullins, your pick to win here, Al, up in the race lead by 4.3 seconds. 1.2, my bad.
All he's got to do is take this thing home. But he's got Clayton Hoffman behind him, and we've seen how strong Clayton has been. If he can just keep him back there, then we'd be fine. Brian Johnson is just coming off pit road, and he's going to be about 4 seconds behind Clayton Hoffman.
7.5, actually, and dropping back.
Oh, it hasn't cycled yet.
Yeah, it's down to 8.3 now. I think now it's just final cycled out. Up front, Jeff Shutt and Greg Wyszynski is still battling it. They're kind of swapping back and forth here at the moment. That's at the moment the battle for 4th on the track.
I don't think that was the right call for everybody to pit like that. I might have, if I was in this race, I might have played a safety card and stayed out for a while and see where it played. But these guys came in and got tires. I guess they got all under pressure when the leader came in and did that.
Well, and here's the thing I'm thinking as well. I have a feeling here that with how hot the track is at the moment, because again, the track's 114 degrees Fahrenheit. That is a solid 35 40 degrees higher than the air temperature. It is a very hot surface, so these guys are just burning their tires up right now. So I think these guys, okay, a one-stopper is possible, but the two-stopper is a lot more feasible. So I think instead of kind of running it out there to the end and seeing how long it can stretch it, these guys are just trying to split this race up into 3 different segments: the front, or the start, the middle, and the end. Now we're seeing the start of the race kind of cycle through, and now these guys are going to get set for the long run and what's going to be the slowest run as well in the middle of the race.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to find out what those tire wear was on some of these guys that pitted, see if they were wearing them out as much as they thought they were gonna. And it might have just been a pit stop to find out how the tires were wearing because the track is so hot. Wayne Grossi goes to the inside of the 85 of Gil Gauck, and that's for the 6th position there. And that was about the closest race of the track right now. We have another one. Looks like the 85 is going to try to battle him back, but it doesn't seem like it's going to help. Greg Wyszynski and Jeff Shutt are up there battling for 4th and 5th, but that's not really a battle. They're about 5/10 apart each other. It might make it 4/10 right now. Jeff is closing in that 25 machine on Greg Wyszynski.
So now at the moment you got a 5-car train bet there. You got Wyszynski leading it. Jeff Shutt is in 5th. Grossi 6th. Gauck 7th. And Cecil Keith is hanging behind, but he is in the 11th position, and he is 2 laps down. So we should not be seeing Cecil Keith fight it up here too hard with some of these guys.
Boy, Wayne Grossi in that 7 machine, he's got some horsepower underneath him right now. He just comes past the 25 with Jeff Shutt like Jeff was in reverse. And he's closing in fast on Greg Wyszynski for the 4th position. So Wayne Grossi moves himself up into 4th, and he's got about 5 seconds before he can catch 3rd. The gap between 1st and 2nd now is about 4 seconds, and that's growing. John Mullins is slowly pulling away. I think that's that clean air concept we were talking about earlier in this event, and it's just not working. Whoever the leader is has got the advantage here, and it doesn't seem like it would make a difference when they're that far apart, but it certainly is.
56 laps in the books here, and 78 more to go. Let's take another quick break here. We'll find ourselves right back.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at TheButtKicker.com, and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
At Farmers, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two, like how nice it is to switch and save on your auto policy. But it's even nicer knowing that if this happens, or this happens, or this, or even this, we've seen and covered it. So call 1-800-FARMERS to switch your auto policy, and you could save an average of $470. Get a quote today.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Nolan, I'm watching the 92 of Clayton Hoffman, and it kind of, I think when he hit that wall, something happened. I mean, it knocked a toe out or something, because his car is extremely sloppy in the corners. I mean, it's got no kind of I mean, you watch this thing here. It just is all over the place, and he gets close to the wall and he wobbles. I mean, he's got some problems.
He's just slow. He still has that damage on the right front of his car. That's really hurt. That wall, the hit to the wall, really kind of screwed him there. John Mullins down in the lead, and Brian Johnson actually passed by him just a couple laps ago as well.
I don't know. Do you think maybe he made some changes when he went in? Did he take some tape off, or did he put some tape on, and that's just messing him up? That would make perfect sense.
I think it's the damage.
I can't believe that little bit of damage. I haven't noticed anybody this week having that much of a damage hindering their ability to drive this car. And what he's got right now, he's not dropping back that far, but his car is just so unstable. Brian Johnson is closing in on our leader, John Mullins. He's down to 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds now. And Wayne Grossi, he's sneaking back up there in that number 7 machine. He wants third from Clayton Hoffman, and he's only about 2 seconds back from taking it. Yeah, Brian Johnson is knocking off about a half a second every lap to the leader. He's down to 1.85 now, so in about 3 laps, he's going to get into closing.
I think it's worth noting here as well that Brian Johnson's running the outside line. John Mullins is running the inside line. So that top groove is really coming to play big time here. And if you watch the lines, you'll look at how high up the track Brian Johnson is. He's running right up by the wall, running the Larson line. John Mullins is way on the bottom. So John Mullins, he's kind of topping out, going down, slow down to about 166 miles an hour in these corners. Brian Johnson, only 176. So he is significantly faster through the corners, and he's also faster down the straightaways because he's able to get such a better, much better drive off the corners.
Well, let's go in car with Brian Johnson in the Ford machine and watch as he closes in on our leader, John Mullins.
That gap, oh, little sideways there, but the gap up to about down to about 7 tenths now. 3/4 second, of course, extending down to 8 tenths now and growing because of that loose moment. But 8's already under a second here. That means he's close to a second in just the last 2 laps.
Yeah, he catches some of that dirty air, and that car is unstable because of it. Well, I've heard several drivers say before, loose is fast. So, I mean, if this is the case, then Brian Johnson should be closing on him real quick because he's extremely loose watching his in-car action here.
And now Johnson goes to the bottom here. Might be trying to pick up the draft here from Mullins, but I think he's still in the dirty air range, so he's not going to gain anything by running the same line. He's going to have to go back up to the high side if he wants to start gaining significant time again. Just behind, Clayton Hoffman is also in a battle here, and Wayne Gross is going down his inside here for the 3rd position through turns 1 and 2. Hoffman running the outside line now and trying to fend off that 7 car on the inside.
Yeah, I'm still in car with Brian Johnson, and if he keeps driving this thing the way he's driving it, he's going to meet that wall by accident. I guarantee you.
Chris Johnson and Craig Johnson are in a battle as well for 10th and 9th position down on the racing surface. But Wayne Grossi is going to try to poke around for the 3rd position. He will get it done here at the line this next time by. Crossing over onto lap 69. A very nice number there for Wayne Grossi to be able to punch himself up now into the podium position. Could this be the first race all season where we do not speak to Hoffman after the race.
Well, it's too early to count that, but I told you Wayne Grossi had some speed to him. He's going to be up there in the podium position if he can just keep it off that wall.
Now, Johnson and Mullins have closed on in again. That gap now down to about 0.3 of a second and continuing to close. Brian Johnson brave enough now to venture further and further up the track, but he didn't quite work out from that time around. He lost about 1/10 of a second in the run there, but Brian Johnson is continuing to close on John Mullins here. It's only a matter of time before he finds a way through.
Well, he's got to be patient. He's got to have those patient pants on. I say this a lot, but that dirty air is going to kill him if he doesn't.
Over halfway through this race, 72, we're around lap 72 now, 63 remaining on the clock, and at this point in time, we're about halfway for some cars to that next pit window when they'd have to come down in for their final stops on the day. Some guys have already been out for about 30 laps or so, notably John. That's actually another thing that might be hurting Mullins actually here, Al, is the fact that John Mullins has been out there about 6 laps longer than Brian Johnson has.
Yeah, those tires, I wouldn't think that extra 6 laps would benefit you that much, but apparently it has. No, it hasn't gapped that big of a gap between Wayne Grossi and Clayton Hoffman there. Clayton is still staying strong and hoping and praying that Wayne Grossi makes a mistake here so he can get his position back. But that's about the only battle we have right now, unless we go back deeper into the field. Well, it looks like Brian Johnson is closing. Oh, I thought it looked like John Mullins was going to give him a pass, but he slowed down on the high line there, and Brian didn't capitalize on it. Now, Cecil Keith and Craig Johnson and Chris Johnson, they're battling back there. It looks like their battle is from 9th and 10th, and that's about the only, besides the leaders, that's about as close as we're going to get here.
The battle might be decided in that final pit stop, which is going to be the money stop. This second pit stop here is going to mean everything here for these guys. It's going to break or make the race for some of these guys as well. So precision is going to be key when we see these guys coming back in. And I'm guessing in about either between 10 and 20 laps time.
Well, before we go on that, let's take another quick break, and let's give a big thanks to ButtKicker here, our main sponsor. Fabulous product. I absolutely love it. So stay tuned for the commercial and hurry up and order yours while supplies last.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at TheButtKicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Brian Johnson has closed into the back of John Mullins. It is now really hounding the mirrors of the 64 car. Now goes to the inside line, coming back just in time here as the battle for the race lead reaches its peak.
And knowing that these drivers of John Mullins and Brian Johnson, if they stay side by side, lurking in the background about 3 seconds back is Wayne Grossi. In those 3 seconds, they're closing extremely fast if those leaders or first and second start battling side by side.
This is the biggest battle on the track at the moment. The only other one really out there is between Powell and Chris Johnson, but that's about 0.7 of a second apart. So we're going to keep all eyes up front here. John Mullins washed up the track a little bit there. Brian Johnson trying to follow, but gets a bit trapped up there in the dirty air. That means Wayne Grossi closes in by about 1/4 of a second in just that one corner alone. This could be a 3-car fight for the lead here if something doesn't win on this one soon. Now Johnson's going to go to the high side liner to try to get the run around Mullins. Oh, but he gets loose and has to back out of it.
Yeah, don't know if he's going to have enough underneath him before this pit stop. Mullins may come in and pit again at right around lap 85, and that will put him about 50 laps to the finish. So he'll be right in that window of what his standards of his pit stops are. And I imagine if it was me, I would do that around about 5 more laps.
Tell you what, now's the time where I started to really dig into the snacks here, and I try to figure out who's going to win this one. I mean, the gap is just fluctuating so much as time goes on. Now look at Brian Johnson getting the run around the outside line. The gap under 0.2 of a second. Mullins watches up, has to lift off a bit to avoid hitting the wall. 1/10.5 now, and still closing down for turn 3, but still not close enough. Now Johnson goes to the inside, trying to lunge it up there.
Now I'm kind of curious to wonder here, is anybody going to be foolish enough? If they didn't do it the first time, will they be foolish enough to ride it the second time and ride this out to about lap 100 on these tires?
I would think not. That's still another 20 laps out. That's a long way to go. And now look at this. Johnson to the lead. John Mullins dropping back to second as Brian Johnson finds himself up in the point. Now John Mullins, though, trying to get the cutback here, trying to get the momentum off of turn number 4. Johnson goes down to the apron, a 1/10.5 between them, but I think Brian Johnson might just have this one.
Yeah, that looks like Mullins used up all his equipment trying to stay in front of him, and Brian, he had to have used up something to try to stay behind him. So let's see how this plans out. If Mullins is just going to let him take it for a little bit and then try to get it back, or if Brian Johnson just walks away from it. As Brian Johnson is coming up on lap traffic here up in front of him.
$50 laps to go this next time by. And I have a feeling here that we're going to be seeing pit stops coming up here very shortly for John Mullins in particular, because he's out there for 42 laps now. That's about as long as he was out there before he came down the last time by. So maybe might stretch into another 3 or so laps, but then we can expect to see John Mullins down to the lane, because at this point in time, he's been out here longer on this stint than he has in his first stint.
Yeah, but he's probably thinking to himself, what is this car going to handle like on 50 lap tires? So he may want to try to see if he can run this for 50 laps and then pit. That would be my guess. Is he going to do it with sliding around like he is? Only he knows.
On the other hand, if he goes in now, he can get himself the undercut there on Brian Johnson. Find himself right up there in the front of this one by a couple seconds, even if he plays his cards right. These guys are going to be lapping significantly quicker at the start of these runs than they are at the end. Like, for example, I got to looking back here at the first few laps that John Mullins ran after his first pit stop. 30.3, 30.2, 30.3, 30.5. Right now, his last few laps, 32.1, 32.1, 32.0. He's lapping at this point almost 2 seconds a lap slower than he was on fresh tires. He might want to consider coming down to get some fresh rubber on, because if he comes down when Brian Johnson comes down, it's over. John Mullins loses that fresh tire advantage on the race leader.
Yeah, I don't know if I 100% agree with that on this point. They're so close right now. I don't know if I was Mullins, if I'd roll the dice and come in before Brian. I think I might just wait it out a little bit here and then maybe pit, because that little advantage that you're talking about, 2 seconds faster, it's going to take me a lot of laps to get up 28 seconds. I mean, that's 20 laps if you average it out 2 seconds a lap. You know, it's about 20 laps just to get my lap back.
I guess the big question here, though, a lot of the other guys, they're going to be considering coming down now as well. 46 laps to go. Everybody out here has been out there for at least 40 laps on their tires. So at this point, we're almost at the point now where you can split this race dead even on the stints here. So I think if I was John Mullins, I would come in like right now, get out there, get on some fresh rubber as much as possible. You're going to be on the back foot at the end of the race. But if you can build yourself up a big enough gap, you might not even have to worry about it. Because at the moment, Brian Johnson, he's out there lapping almost 0.2 of a second quicker than John Mullins is consistently. John Mullins is losing a lot of precious time. He has got to come in for fresh rubber if he wants to stay in this hunt for the lead.
Yeah, I definitely do not think Brian Johnson is going to come in anytime soon, because if he is gaining that much time here comes John. He's going to come in right now.
John Mullins in the lane. That is the right call there, I feel, for John Mullins. It's just got to make sure this goes right for him. Chris Johnson is also down to the lane. Griffin Hoffman, big lockup in the back. And was that a speeding penalty there for Hoffman? I don't think it was, but actually, you know what? We'll have to watch that one here, Al, because pit road speed limit, 45 miles an hour. Clayton Hoffman, 53 miles an hour when he hit that cone. I think Hoffman might have just got himself a speeding penalty.
Here comes Brian Johnson into pit road now. Let's see how he does. He's slowing it down. Oh, he plenty of slow down there. He's in there with his uncle, Craig Johnson, in that 83 machine, and there Craig's coming to his pit stalls, and Brian's working his way down. Let's see. Let's watch Clayton Hoffman when he leaves. If he has to come back in, then he got a speeding penalty.
Well, you'll have to find as well, so I have to keep an eye out here to see if he comes on down in. Now, John Mullins is just now out of pit road, just now crossed over that commitment cone in turn 2. Now, here's what John Mullins has to do. Keep the foot to the floor all the way through 1 and 2 and all the way through 3 and 4. I've run this car here. You can run this car flat out for at least the first couple of laps. If he wants to get that lead, he's got about 1.3 seconds he has to make up here before Brian Johnson can get out of the pits. He has got to get on it here. He has really got to work hard here for this win. Brian Johnson now in the apron of 1 and 2, so he's still on the back foot, going about 60 miles an hour slower. John Mullins, sure enough, foot to the floor all the way down the back straightaway here, but it's not going to be enough. Mullins waited too late. Brian Johnson retains the race lead.
I do not believe Clayton Hoffman got a penalty. He's not coming back down pit road anytime soon, and he's surely not slowing down looking like he's going to. So,
heads up here. Mullins with the run on Johnson. And now, side by side, once again for the race lead here at Kansas Speedway on lap 92. But Brian Johnson is still able to get a much better drive on the inside line. On fresh rubber, the inside line is still the fastest way around the track. And John Mullins, he's going to have to stick in line with that 4 car if he wants to close on in and maybe open up the top side later on. Oh, Brian Johnson been loose, though, through 3 and 4. That almost caused him a lot of headache.
Yeah, the only car that's on the lead lap is that, well, it was Wayne Grossi, and I think he pitted. So I think we're going to go cycle this back up to Brian Johnson in the lead, John Mullins in second, Clayton Hoffman in third, and the rest of them as we cycle around. Let's see how many people are still left on the lead lap now.
This means that the tire battle between these two now is a lot closer than it was, and now it's a dead heat. John Mullins practically bumped after Johnson. Now goes to the apron. Brian Johnson trying to block him down, but no dice for the number 4 car. John Mullins gonna go back to the point here in turn number 1, but how good is the outside line here? Brian Johnson knows how to run that line. He's been running that line really strong all day long. John Mullins clears with the lead, but Brian Johnson has the run.
Yeah, Brian's wanting to return that little favor for the little bump that John Mullins gave him. He didn't like that too much.
And I think John Mullins might be safe for now. Won't be for long, but he's got himself at least a lap or two here where he can kind of relax a little bit and breathe. His tires are only 1 lap older than Brian Johnson's are. This is great for Mullins because it means that now the tire deficit between them is not going to be a good 6-7 laps, whatever it was before. It's going to be a lot better now for John Mullins. And look at how far back now Brian Johnson is trying to get. Johnson is still trying to open up that outside line, but on fresh rubber, it just does not work. When you're on fresh tires, the bottom is always the fastest way around.
Well, unfortunately, these drivers that they'll be lapping here are going to have to go to the high side and force the leaders to come around them on the low side, and that's going to eat up the tires. Now, if they're courteous enough, they'll go to the low side and let the leaders come to the high side. Let's see how this works.
8/10 now. I think Brian Johnson is trying to be easy on his tires here and trying to conserve for the later run. John Mullins still pushing almost flat out at the moment with 38 laps to go and trying to see what he can make here. So the battle started to pick on up all over the racetrack here.
What a phenomenal run for Brian Johnson and John Mullins tonight here, to be able to accomplish this without, pit road is not a very easy feat to come in. You're at 183 miles an hour. To slow it down to 55 miles an hour without getting a penalty, like we thought Clayton Hoffman had already gotten, it's amazing. Here we go. Looks like Mullins is going to catch some lap traffic here. Let's see how he maneuvers his way through it.
And those lap cars are battling for position. That's Kenny Powell and Chris Johnson battling for 8th at the moment on the racetrack. They both just came in 8 laps and 7 laps ago respectively. Johnson has damage on the right front. Kenny Powell with the clean car. And Powell is trying to get a run here on that 48 Ford Mustang there, trying to see if he can get a good driver. And those can go for the outside line here into turn number 1. So now these guys are battling each other. Even worse for John Mullins. The gap is about 9/10 now.
John doesn't want to see that, because the more they battle in front of him, the more he's got to check up, and that 4 car was...
Whoa! They blocked there from Chris Johnson on Kenny Powell. These guys are going at it here. Now Powell's going to wash up the track here as he clears for 8th position. I think Chris Johnson might have had it here. And this means that still John Mullins has continued to close, but I think that battle might be settled for 8th and 9th ahead of him.
Yeah, I know John was probably stressing because he's thinking, are these guys going to wreck in front of me? Am I going to be involved in it? What's going to happen here? Right now, Kenny Powell and Chris Johnson are just trying to stay on the lead lap. So they're racing for their lives, basically, because they know there's not going to be a caution coming out anytime soon.
.35 laps remaining. Let's take a ride on board here with Brian Johnson just behind. We'll ride on board with him for a few laps. We'll step away. Welcome to Crank It Up. Johnson with the attempt at the lead, but no dice for Brian Johnson. John Mullins continues to maintain the gap up in front. 31 to go.
Nolan, this is exactly what Clayton Hoffman sitting in the 3rd position wants to see. He knows he's got damage on that car. He knows he's slower than the first 2 cars in front of him, John Mullins and Brian Johnson. But if these 2 tangle up to each other, guess where that leaves Clayton Hoffman? The leader.
It is worth noting as well that Hoffman came out in front of Wayne Grossi. So it's going to be a very critical thing for these guys. Hoffman is still trying to close into these guys. He's only 3.8 seconds behind, like you said. So not a lot of gap at all. And look at both of these guys up here. John Mullins is trying to block Brian Johnson on the outside line. But look at this. Now Johnson's going to switch to the inside. Down the back straightaway. John Mullins trying to block the run, but no dice through the corner. Brian Johnson back to the point here at Kansas.
Now, all Brian has to do is he needs to get up there and pass Kenny Powell cleanly, not to give the same advantage to John Mullins in order for him to close up to him. Because I think Brian's going to pull away from John. I think once that clean air gets there, he's got strong enough hot rod underneath him that he'll pull away. But John Mullins is not going to give up easily. He's using that car up. He's getting squirrely on the back end. I mean, he is trying everything he can. Let's go back and watch this battle with Clayton Hoffman and Wayne Grossi stewing up here. Wayne Grossi is closing in on Clayton Hoffman pretty fast. He's closing in about 0.2 every lap. So he should have him within 2 laps here.
Half a second up now. Brian Johnson is continuing to rocket away with this one, but Brian Johnson is going to be using his tires up a little bit more. This gap still has the potential to close on in here, and of course, caution now would definitely throw everything up into the mix here. Battle for third and fourth is on. Wayne Grossi and Clayton Hoffman going at it side by side now.
I think Wayne's going to get it here on this corner, but Clayton Hoffman is riding that high line to preserve his tires for a longer run, and he's not going to give up too easily.
And Hoffman is going to go all the way up to the wall that last time by in turn number 3 in an effort to kind of keep it off of the wall. Wayne Grossi maintains third for now. He is desperately trying to hang on to that podium position.
Yeah, it's just phenomenal driving from Wayne, but this could all go sideways on him if he just slips and hits that wall just one time. Back up to our leader, the number 4, Brian Johnson. He's pulled almost a solid second gap between him and second place John Mullins. And there's that 4-second gap way back into third position there. So before we watch Wayne Grossi, he closed that in. Let's see how close he can get to second here. He's 4.3 right now. Let's see what he closes in every lap.
Well, while we're at it, let's also take a bit of a moment here to kind of take a look here at the championship standings as we watch these battles start to kind of heat on up here. Clayton Hoffman is in the lead of the Cup Series standings by only 11 points coming into today. Kenny Powell sits second, believe it or not, with 239 points. 5 points back from him is Chris Johnson to round out the top 3. Greg Wyszynski and Craig Johnson sitting 4th and 5th place respectively, for a combined of 24 points behind the race leader. Then, of course, you have Craig Johnson and Wayne Grossi, 6th and 7th. Randy Drumhiller in the 7th position, Brian Johnson in 8th. Paul Wilson 9th. Gil Goff rounds the top 10. Jeff Shaw is in 11th, with Chris Severa, Matthew Sisna, and Eric Kling only having 3 starts apiece, 12th, 13th, and 14th for them. They're effectively out of any kind of title fight. At this point in time, it seems like the only guys that really have a shot here at going for this win is people within the top 6 there. That's Hoffman, Powell, Johnson, Wyszynski, the other Johnson, and Wayne Grossi. Because combined, they're only 24 points behind Clayton Hoffman. It's a tight championship with only 11 cars.
Well, Wayne Grossi, I mean, he's closing in, but I don't know if he's got enough time left here. He's got about 22 laps to try to get second. Now, if he gets second, that'll close that gap between him and Clayton Hoffman up pretty good. Kenny Powell is riding in an 8th position right now. He's probably going to go a lap down here before this race is over, so that's going to take a big points hit for him. But I do believe Brian Johnson, if he wins, this will be the 4th, 5th, what is this, 6th, 5th different winner this season?
Looks like it'll be the 6th different winner this season, as a matter of fact. I'm not showing them as having won it. And actually, no, he's not going to be the next different winner. He's already won a race this season.
Brian Johnson has. When did he win?
I can't remember for the life of me.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
Didn't he win at Talladega just last week?
Wasn't that Clayton?
I can't remember.
I can't remember either. It was so long ago. And at my age, I can't remember yesterday, let alone last week. So we will try to find that out. But in the meantime, we're watching a Brian Johnson runaway show. He's 1.5 seconds in front of second place John Mullins. And about 2 seconds behind John Mullins is Wayne Grossi.
20 laps remaining. Let's take one more quick step away here for a bit of a shout out to our sponsors, and we'll find ourselves right back for the last few laps.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
There are 3 people at the moment now tied for biggest movers on the day. Those people are Jeff Shutt up 4 to the 6th position, Wayne Grossi up 4 to 3rd, John Mullins up 4 to 2nd. Unfortunately, the driver that's gone back the most spots is not tied. That's Chris Johnson, back 5 to 9th.
Yeah, everybody's had a pretty clean race and a pretty good eventful race here. There's been the only accidents that have came out which didn't bring a caution were the driver's cars meeting the wall by accident. So lucky for us, this race should go pretty clean. I mean, we're only an hour into this thing and we've already got almost 120 laps knocked out of it.
These races can fly by really, really quickly, you know, whenever you have these really long green flag runs like this and they run caution free. I mean, you're right. I mean, total amount of session, this is including grading time, only an hour and 8 minutes. It's gone by in a hurry.
Well, Wayne Grossi has about a second gap between him and second place, and he's got plenty of time to close that in and take a second place and put John Mullins down into 3rd. Let's see if he can do this.
I have gotten another red box notification on my screen now, and guess who it is? It's Mullins and Grossi. Now, if these 2 guys switch, that means Grossi is officially the biggest mover in the race, up 5 where he started today. The gap 8/10 and closing.
Yeah, I told you, Grossi has got an extremely fast hot rod, boy. And he's came through this field more than once with that mean machine. I do believe before the end of this race, we're probably going to see a battle for second. Let's go ahead and take an in-car ride with Wayne Grossi.
You can see how the gap is already starting to close on in. Wayne Grossi is still running the inside line. Mullins is trying to kind of bring the outside line to him, but it's just not happening. And well, they're only 3/4 of a second apart now with 13 to go.
Yeah, there's not an extremely amount of lifting going on by Wayne Grossi. He is lifting about 400 RPMs just to plant his front end, and then he's back in the gas here. Gets about 8,300, 8,400 RPMs in this corner, and he backs it down to about 76, and then he's back on the gas. It's just a brief blip of the gas. But we watched this before with Brian Johnson, and this dirty air, it has used up his equipment here. So let's see how Wayne does. Oh, he was off the gas a little bit longer there. He was pushing. What he's trying to do is he's trying to get down to that white line and be in the gas, but oh, he almost got that wall.
Yeah, that caused him to lose quite a bit of time there, about half of a tenth, back up to John Mullins. Oh, scrapes the wall again at the edge of the 2, but I think he might have just barely gotten away with that one. So already closes in all of the lost time. John Mullins just does not have the car under him. Wayne Grossi's got 4 lap pressure tires. coming to 10 to go here, though. Ross is running out of time to get that spot done and settled.
Well, Nolan, sounds like you went to the bathroom or something. You're echoing.
Am I?
You ain't talking to us from the bathroom, are you, Nolan?
You know what I absolutely love? I love it when your studio microphone just comes unplugged. So it decides to try to switch you over to a webcam that's sitting on a desk halfway across the room. You know, it's just great.
I'm going to trust you weren't in the bathroom on us, Nolan, and that's what you're telling us is the truth.
You wouldn't be able to hear me if I was over there. 8 to go. 9 to go.
Yeah, I don't think Wayne Grossi has what he's going to have to take to get up to John Mullins. These lap
I don't know.
could play a difference on him, though.
I don't know. He's only a half a second back, and he's still closing in. 0.45 up to 4.6, 4.7. He really closes in on the entrance of the corners. Loses a bit down the front straightaway and the back straightaway, but he's gradually closing in inch by inch. And John Mullins also just got loose a bit through 3 and 4, allowing Grossi to close in even more.
Yeah, I think he's running out of too little too late. I mean, he's got 8 laps left. He might have it in him.
3/10. He's there. He's definitely there. Quarter of a second now. So often we run out of things to talk about in this race. Well, not today. This has actually been surprisingly one of the more entertaining races all season long. Again, I say surprised because usually, you know, I look at Kansas and I see a pretty mediocre race. I can't remember the last time I've seen a really exciting race here.
Yeah, these drivers, as you can tell, they got some pretty professional drivers out here that are able to stay off each other and make some clean passes that are almost difficult to do without hitting another driver.
This league is also recruiting as well, so if you do want to come on in and see what all the fuss is about, we'll head on over to the iRacing Stock Car Association over on iRacing.com. They are actively recruiting at the moment. If you also want to kind of have somebody to talk to, well, Kenny Powell, he'd be your man.
Yeah, you can find Kenny Powell on Discord pretty much every day of the week. Anytime during the day, he's on that Discord, and you can shoot him a Discord message, and he'll be glad to help you out on how to get involved in this. If you want some good, clean, fast, competitive racing, this is the league to be in.
We could definitely use that up in the grid size, too. We were up to fields of about 40, 43 just a couple seasons ago. We definitely like to get ourselves back up to those numbers. 0.36 seconds. It started to climb again, but look at this. Grossi once again with the inside line. Quarter of a second. Oh, he's going to have to lift off here, though. Heads up. Nearly hits the outside wall. Had to lift off big time and lost another 10th.
Yeah, he's heating up those tires, boy, just to get second position here. But the lap car that John Mullins is coming about, that might help him, but he's only got roughly about 5 laps left. I don't think he's going to have enough.
At the moment, that lap car is actually more helping John Mullins because it's giving him a tow down the straightaways and allowing him to pull away even more. The gap is up to half a second now. Yeah, I think you're right. Grossi got close, but he's not going to have it.
Well, he could make us wrong here. You never know. I mean, there could be an event that Mullins has to check up on that lap car in front of him, and then it would give Grossi a chance to sneak right up under his bumper there. So let's see.
Kenny Powell's going to stay up high. John Mullins goes through on the inside line. Wayne Grossi trying to follow through, but Mullins is going to get well and clear. Powell's just letting him have it at that point.
Now Grossi needs to use Kenny Powell as a kind of a pick car there to get him some speed to get up there, but I don't think he's got enough left in him. I mean, we are literally 2 laps left, and this race is over.
3 miles left to go. Just over the same distance, actually, that the season finale is going to be at the circuit of the, at Sonoma Raceway later on here today. Griffin Hoffman has also kind of reeled this pack in, but like Grossi, too little too late.
Yeah, the biggest movers of this race are going to be both John Mullins and Wayne Grossi. They came up 4 positions from when they started.
And Jeff Shutt.
And that's not much of a big feat when you got 11 cars in the field, but hopefully we'll get away from road to pro, and we'll get all the good, the competitive drivers we had before come in here and show some competition to these guys. Kenny Powell is on the high side. Wayne Grossi just backs off, and we are pretty much coming to the checkered here.
Brian Johnson, he's done a fantastic job so far. Absolutely nailed the passes. He got everything done that he needed to. Brian Johnson off of turn number 4. He comes home and wins it here at Kansas Speedway. The second half of the season starts off strong for the number 4 car.
Coming in second will be the 64 of John Mullins. Third will be Wayne Grossi. Fourth will be Clayton Hoffman. Fifth is Greg Wychinski. Sixth is a 25 of Jeff Shutt. Seventh is Gil Gawk. Eighth, Kenny Powell. Ninth, Chris Johnson. 10th, Craig Johnson. And 11th will be Cecil Keith. Stay tuned, and we'll get talking with our podium winners here, Brian Johnson, John Mullins, and Wayne Grossi after this break.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at TheButtKicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Welcome back to Kansas. Let's see if we can get a hold of some of our race winners here. Let me see if I can speak with the 7 of Wayne Grossi. Wayne Grossi, Al Kozlowski in the booth. You got a copy? I don't think we got Wayne Grossi. Let's see if we can get contact with Wayne Grossi. In the meantime, let's see if we've got the second place, John Mullins. John Mullins, Al Kozlowski in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, buddy.
John, you were my pick to win the race, but I will take second place. Good job, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I tried all I can do. Brian just definitely had the long run car for tonight. He was much better on the long run. My car was fair, but it kind of went through like a 10, 12 lap real loose phase there, and I was losing a little time on him during that, but it wasn't bad. I enjoyed it tonight, so yeah, I'll take a second place also. Can't complain.
Walk us through this pit strategy we had going on here.
Well, I knew I was going to pit on 40 and 40, and then the last one be the longest run. That was my plan, somewhere around 40, 42, and then hopefully save that last set of tires in case there was a late caution.
Well, we were really confused. I thought I was going to see some, 60 and 50 or some split like that. But when everybody started coming in the 40s, I was confused. I didn't know if they were checking tires, making adjustments, or what was going on. But nonetheless, you can't beat a second place. Well, you could have, beat a first. But nonetheless, it was a tremendous run for you tonight, John. You got any sponsors you want to thank?
Definitely got to thank ButtKicker for sponsoring the league. We definitely appreciate them, and my own sponsors, Canterbury and DNA Enterprises. Definitely appreciate their support.
Well, we certainly do appreciate you helping us out. Make it very eventful. This made Kansas really exciting having you in it tonight, John. Congratulations on your second place finish.
Hey, thanks, guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, buddy. Let me see. I think I've got a connection now with Wayne Grossi that came in third. Wayne Grossi, Al Kozlowski in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. You copy me?
I got you, Wayne. Wayne, you came up just like John did, 4 positions up there, and you came through that field more than once to get up here into third. Great job tonight. Walk us through how this race went for you.
Well, I was trying to pit a little bit later than everyone, so I had better tires in the end. So that strategy worked, except trying to catch everybody there at the end. I wore out my tires anyway, so it didn't work out in the long run, but very happy to take third.
Well, that's okay. I knew at one point we would be talking to you, so it might as well be in Kansas. This is a pretty tricky track, and it was a pretty hot track. Did the temperature of the track hinder your ability at all tonight?
Actually, no, the car was fine. I really didn't have to change anything for the temperature.
Well, you did a phenomenal job tonight, Wayne, and welcome to the booth. You got any sponsors you want to thank tonight?
Well, I forgot to thank ButtKicker last time, so I seriously want to thank them and for sponsoring the league. I really appreciate it. Thanks to Kenny Powell and the league. I really liked racing here. And, of course, you guys, Al, you do a great job. I really enjoy the broadcasts, and you're very talented. So thanks for what you do.
Well, I couldn't do it without my buddy Nolan. He carries me along the way, but I appreciate the kind words, Wayne, and congratulations on your third-place finish tonight, bud.
All right. Thank you.
Well, let's see if I can get a hold of Brian Johnson. I don't know if he's done drinking down there in Victory Lane or what's going on, but let's give it a shot anyways. Brian Johnson, Al Kozlowski in the booth. You got a copy?
I got a copy.
Well, you sound pretty tame for just winning a race. I don't know. I don't hear the excitement. Do you want to go another 134 laps or?
Oh man, that's all the excitement I could take. No, that was a fun race. Fun racing with John and Wayne. Yeah, we had a good car overall. The Southern Spiral Pipe Chevrolet, she was fast on the long run, but I lost a little speed early on, but I was able to reel people in and pull away later on. So she was good.
Well, you certainly like that high line. Was that a preferred line for you tonight?
It really depend on the track and how the car was wearing. My car got really, really loose midway through the run, but after that, once it started tightening up, that's when I would move up and get right next to the wall. Right next to that wall, and I was able to make some time up there, get the momentum going down the front and back stretch.
You certainly did avoid that wall. I think Clayton Hoffman caught that wall once or twice, and I think that hurt him a little bit. So the good thing to do tonight was avoid that wall, and you, John Mullins, and Wayne Grossi all did that phenomenally. So congratulations on that win tonight, Brian. We got any sponsors we want to thank?
Yeah, thanks, Al. Southern Spiral Pipe. And also ButtKicker. I also want to thank Kenny, you, Al, and Nolan for putting this thing on. It's a good time.
Well, I think Nolan's out of the bathroom now, and I think he'd probably like to have a conversation with you as well. Nolan, you got anything for our winner tonight?
Well, we move from 1.5 mile track over to the next one. It's going to be Darlington Raceway. The Lady in Black, the track too tough to tame. So, well, Brian, do you think you have what it takes to tame the Lady in Black?
It's one of my favorite tracks. So you got to have nerves of steel to run that track. It's another one you got to run up there by the wall. You got to really commit to the corners. And, it's just a fun track.
Well, I'm super excited and can't wait for next week. And I can't wait to talk to you guys all again next week. So let's continue this on to next week. And let's have a first, second, and third with Brian Johnson, John Mullins, and Wayne Grossi. And we'll welcome you back next week. For right now, we'll just call it a night at Kansas. Everybody have a good night. Thank you, ButtKicker.